Ever since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, face masks have become a regular part of life across Asia. From adults to children, almost everyone on the streets can be seen wearing one. But in the US, the idea of wearing masks to avoid illness has not been ingrained in the culture at large. Masks can even lead to discrimination and attacks, especially for people of Asian descent.
A woman who's Asian says she was punched by another woman in Midtown Manhattan.
I remember exactly what she said. She said, "Where is your mask?"
The practice of wearing surgical masks during a disease outbreak actually started in the United States. Surgical masks rose to prominence during the 1918 Spanish flu. At the time, the 1918 flu had no known cure or vaccine. By the end, it would lead to the deaths of an estimated 30 to 60 million people worldwide. In the US alone, it killed over 500,000 people. Scrambling to find a way to slow the rate of infection, some cities started asking residents to wear surgical masks to fight the spread of the flu. San Francisco introduced a mask ordinance requiring all people in the city to wear surgical masks or face arrest and a fine. Surgical masks at the time looked very different from today. The early masks were often made up of a piece of gauze worn over the nose and mouth. While many in the US stopped wearing masks when the 1918 flu disappeared, one country in Asia held on to the practice: Japan. During the 1918 pandemic, Japanese health authorities recommended the use of surgical masks. Each new disease outbreak in Japan saw a jump in mask use. By the 1980s, people were starting to use masks for other ailments like seasonal allergies. Professor Mitsutoshi Hori is a visiting professor at Chaucer College in the UK. He has studied mask use in Japan.
Mask became popularized in Japan, but in contrast, in the West, in the US and the European countries, especially in the US, mask wearing caused a lot of public resistance. Many people kind of argued against mask wearing, saying that it's against their civil liberty. But in Japan, it became popularized, it survived, it became part of their culture. Every time major pandemic emerges, people start wearing masks. And the purpose of wearing mask during that time is mainly to prevent healthy people from infection. Third epidemic seems to be a kind of key point. I still remember, in third pandemic, we see lots of picture, people in Hong Kong or elsewhere, wearing mask. Once people experience that sort of things, mask wearing become more normalized.
In the US, health officials have not recommended the use of masks for the general public. Although studies have shown mask wearing offers some protection against communicable diseases, but a severe supply shortage means that even some doctors and nurses have complained about running out of masks and having to make their own. The mask wearing in the West is further compounded by social stigma and racism. For people of Asian descent, wearing a mask can lead to abuse and assault.
Yeah, I don't know. I was walking and someone threw a water bottle at me.
You're being offensive. You're being racist because I have a mask on and I'm Asian. You're not speaking.
I heard through the news in the UK, some Chinese students were wearing masks and they were verbally abused. Part of my job is actually looking after Japanese students coming to this campus. And then the most recent group, the advice we gave is actually don't wear masks in public, because we heard the East Asian looking people wearing masks and then they were kind of verbally abused. So I explained to the students mask wearing is a part of this culture and the people just feel a bit weird, so just don't do it while you are here. I think first of all, somehow the Western culture have very strong attachment about showing your face. The face is such an important symbolic element in kind of Western social interaction, kind of everyday life in the West. I think simply in Japan, in West, in East in general, they don't share that sort of culture. Face is still important, but it's okay to cover to some extent. Bottom line is, when things are so uncertain like now, virus is so basically invisible, and then we don't know whether we get or not. We just don't know what's going to happen. And then in that sort of state of mind, we just want to do something to feel as if we are in control. I think the old resistance to mask wearing could be, kind of transformed, and it become people feel more kind of natural to wear mask. Actually, this morning in the UK, when I was driving to my work, I saw one old man wearing mask, walking dog. So things may be changing,
Health researchers have called on governments to boost mask production to combat future outbreaks and remove the stigma of mask wearing through public education. History has shown that major pandemics can lead to societal changes. Maybe the coronavirus pandemic will be the spark that leads to the acceptance of wearing masks in public.